On a sultry Birmingham evening, when the street lamps sputtered to life and their light danced on cracked sidewalks, Malik, Jalen, and DeAndre ambled home from Jackson Heights High. The trio, fresh from sweaty basketball practice and buoyed by youthful banter, traced their usual path, their backpacks slung carelessly as they recounted highlight plays, missed shots, and cheeky one-liners. But as the night deepened, fate steered their steps toward an unexpected tableau, a midnight black luxury sedan idling at the curb, its hazard lights pulsing like a heartbeat in the dim glow. There, leaning against the sleek body of the car, stood an older gentleman in a sharply pressed navy suit and immaculate white shirt. His gold cufflinks glinted with every anxious gesture as he wrestled with a stubborn jack, his polished shoes slipping on the uneven asphalt. Malik's eyes narrowed with concern. "We should help him," he murmured, his tone carrying both compassion and resolve. Jalen's raised eyebrow barely masked his disbelief. This was a scene more befitting a movie than their everyday stroll home. Yet, as DeAndre sighed and finally nodded, the three crossed the silent street, their footsteps echoing against the pavement like a prelude to an unspoken challenge. Approaching the frustrated man, Malik's gentle voice broke the night's quiet. "Need a hand, sir?" For a heartbeat, his sharp, gray-blue eyes flickered with uncertainty as he weighed these unexpected helpers. In that pause, filled with the low hum of distant traffic and the whisper of a cool breeze, the decision was made. With practiced ease, Malik adjusted the jack, Jalen's quick wit lightened the tension, and DeAndre's deft fingers freed a stubborn lug nut. Within minutes, the tire was off and the spare neatly in place. The man, still catching his breath from both the exertion and the relief, extended a fat stack of $100 bills in thanks. Malik's quiet refusal, "Nah, we just help when we can," sparked a subtle shift in the stranger's expression. Something like a dawning realization crossed his features as he tucked the cash away and, with a final nod of reluctant admiration, slid back into his car. As the engine purred to life and the vehicle melted into the night, Jalen muttered, "Man, we could have cashed in big," while Malik simply smiled, content that integrity had triumphed over temptation. The following morning, the corridors of Jackson Heights High buzzed with the familiar clatter of sneakers and idle chatter. Lockers creaked under the weight of hurried goodbyes and whispered secrets as Malik, Jalen, and DeAndre occupied their usual corner near the entrance. Mid-joke about a botched crossover move, the PA system's shrill voice commanded their presence in the principal's office. The hallway hushed in anticipation, and a knot of uncertainty tied itself around the boys as they trudged toward an unknown fate. Inside the austere office, Principal Whitmore, stern yet reserved, sat behind a polished desk. But today he wasn't alone. Seated opposite him was the very man from the previous night, though now his presence radiated power rather than perplexity. Dressed in a deep charcoal suit accented by a silk pocket square, the gentleman introduced himself with deliberate calm as Lawrence Whitaker. "Gentlemen, have a seat," he intoned smoothly, his voice measured like a well-rehearsed melody. As the boys sank into the chairs, Whitaker's eyes sparkled with an intensity that belied his composed exterior. "I witnessed your actions last night, the way you helped without expecting reward. That speaks volumes." With a graceful sweep of his hand, he produced a sleek business card embossed in gold. "I built my enterprise from nothing," he continued, his tone laced with quiet pride, "and I recognize true talent when I see it. I have an opportunity, a test, really, that might interest you." The room seemed to pulse with possibility and apprehension. Jalen's voice broke the silence, laced with incredulity, "But, aren't we still in high school?" Malik's eyes darted between his friends, uncertainty flickering beneath his composed exterior. Whitaker, undeterred, slid a second card across the desk. "This isn't a job, it's a chance to prove how you handle real pressure," he explained, his gaze piercing as he detailed an address and a meeting time after school. The invitation hung in the air like a secret waiting to be unlocked, a challenge that beckoned with both promise and peril. After classes blurred into one another that day, the trio found themselves before an unremarkable downtown office building. Its facade was neither gaudy nor ostentatious, just a quiet sentinel to business as usual. Entering through a marble lobby where the echo of their sneakers felt oddly out of place, they approached an elevator that, upon scanning a black card at its reader, whisked them upward in a silence as smooth as velvet. When the doors opened, they stepped into a modern conference room dominated by a long glass table, its surface reflecting their nervous faces. At the far end, Whitaker reclined in his chair, flanked by two stern men and one equally composed woman, their expressions unreadable. "Ever heard the saying, pressure makes diamonds?" Whitaker asked, leaning forward as if about to share an age-old secret. I don't trust luck, I trust preparation and the ability to seize opportunity before it even appears. He paused, letting his words sink in, before revealing the crux of his challenge. Sliding a neat folder toward them, he continued, last night, you had a choice. You could have grabbed an easy payday, but you didn't. I want to see if that same judgment holds when the stakes are even higher. Malik's fingers brushed the edge of the folder, its contents a mystery waiting to be deciphered. Inside lay a single sheet of paper bearing a name and an address, Elliot Grayson, along with instructions that were as cryptic as they were succinct. Follow them exactly, and report back, Whitaker instructed. His eyes glimmered with the weight of unspoken promises as he added, this is about trust, decision-making, and risk. If you choose to ignore this call, there will be no hard feelings, but the opportunity will vanish. A ripple of unease passed between them as the room's tension grew palpable. Outside, the fading light of day had surrendered to the encroaching night, and the trio found themselves on the street in front of a small, run-down corner store. The faded neon sign, nearly spelling out Grayson's Market, albeit with one letter missing, hung precariously above cracked pavement. The atmosphere was a far cry from the sleek modernity of Whitaker's office. It was gritty, real, and a little foreboding. A couple of kids dribbled a half-deflated ball on a cracked court nearby, while a solitary man in a worn hoodie leaned nonchalantly against the storefront, exhaling thin streams of smoke into the cool air. Inside the cramped store, dim light flickered over dusty shelves and a creaking cash register. Behind the counter, a tired-looking man named Elliot, his hair peppered with gray and his face etched by years of hard living, regarded them with a wary, measured gaze. Without preamble, he reached beneath the counter and produced a small, securely taped box. Placing it before them, his voice dropped to a grave murmur, take this to the address printed on the bottom. Do not open it, and do not ask any questions. The box, unassuming yet exuding an inexplicable gravity, seemed to pulse with the weight of secrets. Jalen's instinct whispered caution, while DeAndre's mind raced through possibilities of what might lurk behind such a simple directive. Malik, absorbing every detail with silent intensity, felt his stomach tighten as he weighed the potential risks. A heated debate ensued just outside the store. Jalen's skepticism flared, this reeks of a mob setup, man. DeAndre, ever the worrier, fretted over the implications of unwittingly running errands for someone too powerful. Malik, however, remained pensive. His gaze fell on the neatly printed red address, 315, West Fairfield Avenue, and a chill of intuition passed through him. After a long, charged pause, he finally spoke, I don't think this is for us. With a decisive movement, he set the mysterious box on the curb. His friends hesitated only a heartbeat before following suit. Their decision, as simple as it appeared, resonated with the gravity of a moral turning point, a collective refusal to let greed or curiosity override their conscience. Barely had the silence settled when a sleek black car glided up alongside them, its tinted windows concealing the driver's expression. From the rear door stepped Lawrence Whitaker once more, his presence as imposing as ever in a meticulously tailored charcoal suit. His eyes swept over the trio, lingering on the untouched box lying abandoned on the curb. So, you've decided not to play, he observed coolly, his tone neither reproachful nor celebratory, but simply inquisitive. Jalen managed a wry remark, we passed your test, right? Whitaker's lips twitched into a subtle smile as he explained, the box contained nothing. My real test was to see if you'd blindly follow orders or trust your judgment. His next words struck like a revelation, most people wouldn't dare question when money is involved, but you showed that integrity matters. He then produced a different, heftier business card, one embossed with a private number, and extended it toward Malik. When you're ready to understand what true power looks like, call me, he said, before stepping back into his car. With a gentle hum, the vehicle melted into the night, leaving the street bathed in the soft buzz of streetlights and unanswered questions. As the trio stood there, the cool night air mingling with the residual heat of adrenaline, the magnitude of what had just transpired began to sink in. DeAndre's voice, low and thoughtful, broke the silence. So, what now? We just keep walking? Jalen, shaking his head with a wry laugh, replied, man, if I had my way, I'd toss that car down a drain and forget the whole thing. Yet Malik's eyes remained fixed on the sleek card in his hand, a silent testament to the complexity of their choices. It wasn't just about delivering a package, he finally murmured, it was about knowing when to say no. In that quiet moment, under the relentless hum of streetlights and the distant murmur of city life, the three friends felt the weight of a decision far greater than any homework assignment or basketball game. They had encountered a test, a gauntlet designed not to measure obedience, but to gauge the strength of their character. It was a challenge that spoke to the very heart of what it meant to wield power responsibly, not by chasing every glittering opportunity, but by choosing the path that felt true. The night faded into introspection as each of them pondered the implications. Would you, when faced with a chance to alter your destiny with one fateful decision, have risked it all for the lure of easy money? Or would you, like Malik, understand that sometimes the bravest act is to walk away? In that lingering question lay the true test, a challenge to our own integrity and the courage to stand by one's convictions, even when the stakes are monumental. As the boys eventually parted ways, the streets returning to their quiet vigil, the final echo of Whitaker's words resounded in Malik's mind. I invest in the 1%, those who think for themselves, who see opportunity in making the hard choices. That single sentiment, wrapped in mystery and ambition, became a beacon for their uncertain futures. And now, as you listen to this tale, consider for a moment, if you were offered a chance to step into a world where every decision could redefine your life, would you dare to choose differently? Would you risk everything to uphold your integrity, or would the glitter of easy rewards blind you to the true cost? Let us know what you'd do in the comments, because in a world of endless tests, the real power lies in choosing wisely. There's always another challenge waiting just around the corner. Are you ready to face it?